I am Countess Carita, and welcome to Transylvania tonight. Enter freely and of your own will. This evening's show is a celebration of the world's first consulting detective, Sherlock Holmes. And here is Sherlock Holmes himself, with some sage advice. It's the same advice he uses to solve all of his cases.
When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. Doggone it.
You're not Sherlock Holmes.
Brilliant deduction, Carita.
Not even close to being live from the Borgo Pass, it's Transylvania Tonight. With your hosts, that award-winning King of the Vampires, Drac, and Countess Carita, the darling of the undead. Join Drac and Carita for tonight's movie, Sherlock Holmes and the Secret Weapon.
Dr. Tobel meant to communicate with us by that means. Empty. The bomb site's gone. Moriarty. This is no simple crime that you contemplate. It's a staggering blow against your own country.
We'd better hurry, Holmes. There's still time to save Farrell and Kern.
Too late, Watson. By this time, Farrell and Kern are dead, too.
What?
Oh, hi there. I'm Drac. This is my Countess Carita. And welcome to Transylvania Tonight.
Tonight we're going to be showing Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce in Sherlock Holmes and the Secret Weapon.
As a fictional character, Sherlock Holmes has appeared in over 250 feature films, making him second only to that other highly popular, successful, and really, really handsome fictional character, Count Dracula.
What?
Oh yeah, sure, Dracula's handsome.
Don't you find it a bit offensive to be referred to as a fictional character, Drac?
Oh, not at all, honey bat. Remember, the strength of the vampire is that people will not believe in him.
Oh. Sherlock Holmes was the creation of physician and author Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Doyle was a prolific writer who gave us many memorable characters like Professor Challenger in The Lost World. But he will always be remembered as the literary father of Sherlock Holmes.
He was born in 1859 in Edinburgh, Scotland.
And while he was a practicing physician, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle longed to be a writer.
His first Sherlock Holmes story, A Study in Scarlet, was written in 1886 and published the following year.
And between 1886 and 1927, Doyle gave us Sherlock Holmes adventures in 4 novels and 56 short stories.
Shortly before his passing in 1930, Doyle did an on-camera interview.
In this interview, he discusses not only Sherlock Holmes, but also his interest in spiritualism and the occult.
We are very fortunate to have film documentation of his thoughts on this subject, and we're going to show it to you right now.
That's right. So join us as we listen to this interview with the creator of Sherlock Holmes, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Ollie. Good old boy, then. Let's see now, I've got to speak one or two words, and just to try my voice, I understand. There are two things that people always want to ask me. Well, one of them is how I ever came to write the Sherlock Holmes stories, and the other is about how I came to have psychic experiences and to take so much interest in that question. Well, first of all, about the Sherlock Holmes stories, they came about in this way. I was quite a young doctor at the time. I'd had, of course, a scientific training, and I used occasionally to read detective stories. It always annoyed me how in the old-fashioned detective story, the detective always seemed to get at his results either by some sort of lucky chance or a fluke, or else it was quite unexplained how he got there. He got there, but he never gave an explanation how. Well, that didn't seem to me quite playing the game. It seemed to me that he's bound to give his reasons why he came to his conclusions. Well, once I began to think about this, I began to think of turning scientific methods, as it were, onto the work of detection. And I used, as a student, to have an old professor, his name was Bell, who was extraordinarily quick at deductive work. He would look at the patient, he would hardly allow the patient to open his mouth, but he would make his diagnosis of the disease and also very often of the patient's nationality and occupation and other points entirely by his power of observation. So naturally I thought to myself, well, if a scientific man like Bell was to come into the detective business, he wouldn't do these things by chance. He'd get the thing by building it up scientifically. So, having once conceived that line of thought, you can well imagine that I had, as it were, a new idea of the detective, and one which it interested me to work out. I thought of 100 little dodges, as you may say, 100 little touches by which he could build up his conclusions, and then I began to write stories on those lines. At first, I think they attracted very little attention, but after a time, when I began the short adventures, one after the other, coming out month after month in the Strand magazine, people began to recognize that it was different to the old detective, that there was something there which was new. They began to buy the magazine, and it prospered, and so I may say did I. We both came along together, and from that time, Sherlock Holmes fairly took root. I've written a good deal more about him than I ever intended to do, but my hand has been rather forced by kind friends who continually wanted to know more, and so it is that this monstrous growth has come out of what was really a comparatively small seed. Now, the curious thing is how many people there are in the world who are perfectly convinced that he is a living human being. I get letters addressed to him, and I get letters asking for his autograph, get letters addressed to his rather stupid friend, Watson. I've even had ladies writing to say that they'd be very glad to act as his housekeeper. One of them, when she heard that he had turned to the occupation of keeping bees, wrote saying that she was an expert at segregating the Queen, whatever that may mean, and that she was evidently predestined to be the housekeeper of Sherlock Holmes. I don't know if there's anything more I could say with advantage about him. But on the other point, which is to me, of course, a very much more serious one, on the question of my taking up this psychic matter, curiously enough, my first experiences in that direction were just about the time when Sherlock Holmes was being built up in my mind. That would be about the year 1886 and 1887. So nobody can say that I formed my opinions on psychic matters very hastily. It's just 41 years now since I wrote a signed article upon the subject, which appeared in a magazine called Light, so that I put myself on record. During these 41 years, I never lost any opportunity of reading, of studying, and of experimenting on this matter. People ask me, will I write any more Sherlock Holmes stories? I certainly don't think it's at all probable. But as I grow older, the psychic subject always grows in intensity, and one becomes more earnest upon it, and I should think that my few remaining years will probably be devoted much more in that direction than in the direction of literature. Nonetheless, of course, I haven't abandoned writing. One has to earn one's living, but my principal thoughts are that I should extend, if I can, that knowledge which I have on psychic matters and spread it as far as I can to those who have been less fortunate. But don't for one moment suppose that I'm taking it upon myself to say that I am the inventor of spiritualism, or that I am even the principal exponent of it. There are many great mediums, many great psychical researchers, investigators of all sorts. All that I can do is to be a gramophone on the subject, to go about, to meet people face to face, to try and make them understand that this thing is not the foolish thing which is so often represented, but that it really is a great philosophy, and, as I think, the basis of all religious improvement in the future of the human race. I suppose I've said with more mediums, good and bad and indifferent, than perhaps any living being. Anyhow, a larger variety, because I've traveled so much all over the world, and wherever I've gone, either in Australia, America, or South Africa, the best that there was to be had in that direction was put at my disposal. Therefore, when people come along and contradict me, who have had no experience at all, read little, and perhaps never been to a seance, you can imagine that I don't take their opposition very seriously. When I talk on this subject, I'm not talking about what I believe. I'm not talking about what I think. I'm talking about what I know. There's an enormous difference, believe me, between believing a thing and knowing a thing. I'm talking about things that I've handled, that I've seen, that I've heard with my own ears, and always, mind you, in the presence of witnesses. I never risk hallucination. I usually, in most of my experiments, have had 6, 8, or 10 witnesses, all of whom have seen and heard the same things that I have done. Gradually, I became more and more convinced on the matter as I studied year in, year out, but it was only in the time of the war, when all these splendid young fellows were disappearing from our view. The whole world was saying, well, what's become of them? Where are they? What are they doing now? Have they dissipated into nothing? Or are they still the grand fellows that we used to know? It was only at that time that I realized the overpowering importance to the human race of knowing more about this matter. Then it was that I flung myself more earnestly into it, and that I felt the highest purpose that I could possibly devote the remainder of my life to was trying to bring across to other people something of that knowledge and assurance which I had acquired myself. Certainly the results have justified me. I'm quite sure I could fill a room of my house with the letters that I have received from people telling me of the consolation which my writings on this subject and my lectures on this subject have given to them. How they have once more heard the sound of a vanished voice and felt the touch of the vanished hand. Oh, goodbye. Come along. Okay.
The Sherlock Holmes stories were so well written, many from the first-person perspective of Dr. Watson, that many people believed that Sherlock Holmes was a real person. This is because Arthur Conan Doyle had fleshed out his characters so well, giving us details on every aspect of Sherlock Holmes' life. He had created a brilliant man who was only happy when his mind was engaged in solving a problem. And when he didn't have a case to solve, Sherlock Holmes would become moody and depressed and turn to the use of narcotics, like cocaine, to keep his mind stimulated. In fact, there's even a veiled reference to Sherlock Holmes' cocaine use that is given by Lionel Atwill's Professor Moriarty in the movie we're watching tonight. Yeah. And it's not the first time that Sherlock Holmes' cocaine use was mentioned in a Basil Rathbone Holmes film. Rathbone first played Sherlock Holmes in 1939's The Hound of the Baskervilles. And his last line in that movie is, "Watson, the needle." How those drug reference lines ever got past the censors in the Hayes office in the 1930s and 40s is amazing.
And details that weren't provided by Doyle have been filled in by literary scholars and Sherlock Holmes societies, even down to establishing his birthday. In the story His Last Bow, Sherlock Holmes is described as a man of 60.
Scholars then pointed out that not once, but twice in the Sherlock Holmes stories, Holmes quotes William Shakespeare's The Twelfth Night. The Twelfth Night being the 12th day after Christmas, or January 6th. Then, in another Sherlock Holmes story, which begins on the morning of January 7th, Sherlock Holmes is presented as a man who is suffering from a hangover which scholars say could have been caused by celebrating his birthday the night before. So Sherlock Holmes' birthday has been established as January 6th, 1854.
As Doyle mentioned, the character was so believable that he often would get mail at his address. And that's not surprising, it's one of the most famous addresses in the world. The President of the United States, for instance, lives at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. England's Prime Minister lives at number 10 Downing Street. And Sherlock Holmes lives at 221B Baker Street. Here we see what Baker Street looks like today, the home of a Sherlock Holmes museum and gift shop.
Now let's leave reality behind and go to a world where Sherlock Holmes really does exist and the game is afoot.
Drac,
What, honey bat?
my glove is missing.
Why, doggone it. It seems as if the game really is afoot. While I ponder this pilferage, we'll start tonight's movie. It's Basil Rathbone, Nigel Bruce, and Lionel Atwill, starring in a film that takes Sherlock Holmes out of the Victorian era and places him against a backdrop of the days of World War II. It's Universal Studios' 1942 Sherlock Holmes and the Secret Weapon. So, Carita, where was the glove last time you saw it?
Right here.
On your arm?
Mm-hmm.
You were wearing it?
Mm-hmm.
And now it's gone?
Yes.
But your bracelet is still there.
Yes.
How could that have happened? This is perplexing, and it's going to take a superior mind to solve this puzzle.
gentlemen look like educated men of good taste, I have here some rare old first editions.
Si le vieux vous embête.
He's not bothering us. I'm interested in his books.
Light beer. Oui, monsieur.
Now here are the complete works of Wilhelm Shakespeare, an old German writer. We move tonight. Orders from Berlin. Dr. Tobel is to be across the border before dawn.
But we have had orders not to break into his house, and he hides there. Hasn't been outside in weeks.
The Führer wants no trouble with Switzerland at the moment. We must be very careful.
If we can't break in, he won't come out?
When the Führer needs something as badly as he needs the Tobel bomb site, there is always a way. Dr. Tobel is interested in my scientific volumes. He's seen my forged Swiss papers, and he believes I come from Lucerne. No, gentlemen, the price is much too low. I could not possibly sell so rare a book for such a price. I will induce Dr. Tobel to come on a visit to my shop. As we pass the alleyway. You are interested in this book? A rare old set of Bismarck papers. One last warning. I've just had word from Berlin. The English Schweinhunter will try to take Dr. Tobel from under our very eyes. They are sending a stupid, bungling amateur detective. His name is Holmes, or some such foolishness.
He will never escape from Switzerland alive.
Now, quick. Have me thrown out of here. And watch for my signal from Dr. Tobel's window. But, gentlemen, you promised to buy one of my books.
I told you no.
Stop bothering us.
They are not so great. The price is...
Allez, vieux, sors d'ici, c'est d'étudiants. Pas pas embêter les clients. Prends-les. Prends ton chapeau.
Je crois pour mes livres.
Prends-les autres parts. C'est ta carte.
Je ne veux pas aller à car.
Allez, sors d'ici. On vient plus, hein. En fait, les clients, mais c'est le plein.
Cochon.
French. English. Oh, I hate those languages.
Calm yourself, my dear Braun. In a short time, there will be only one language.
Good evening, Dr. Tobel. I have here some very interesting scientific books. I thought you might like to see them.
Please come in.
He's entering the house. Quickly, get the car and have the motor running. I will follow. Herr X will have the Tobel bomb site at the Führer while this Holmes is still having his tea. Now,
What are you doing? I am sorry, but for months, every move I have made has been watched. I am not a coward, Mr. Holmes.
They won't watch you anymore. Tonight, they intend to take you forcibly across the German border.
Then why do we wait here, doing nothing, like rats in a trap?
Calm yourself, my dear Dr. Tobel. We shall not only escape their trap, but we shall also take the cheese away with us.
But how?
The 4 sections of your bomb site fit inside these ponderous tomes. Although I must confess that I shied at the thought of disemboweling a complete set of Charles Dickens.
Oh, but you cannot hide me in a hollow book.
My dear fellow, I'm sorry that my good friend Dr. Watson isn't here to explain to you that my preparations are never slipshod.
Stefan! Eric! Why do you call my servants?
Your servants, yes, but tonight they assume new roles. Let me present Dr. Tobel and our old friend, the bookseller.
Holmes, it is so simple.
Yes, the obvious always appears simple. Quick now, we must leave. Stefan, the knapsack.
Okay. All right, what did I say at the beginning of the show? How would Sherlock Holmes approach this? You have to accentuate the positive, eliminate the... No, that's not right, is it? There have been many great actors who have portrayed Sherlock Holmes on film dating back to 1900.
Actor William Gillette made a career of playing Holmes after writing the stage play Sherlock Holmes and appearing in a film version in 1916. It's Gillette who is credited with adding the trademark curved stem calabash pipe to Sherlock Holmes's character. Initially, Gillette had tried to smoke the straight stem pipe that Sherlock Holmes was always depicted using, but found it difficult to deliver his lines, and so the curved stem made it much easier for him to rest the pipe in his mouth while speaking.
Over 70 actors have played Sherlock Holmes in feature films, including John Barrymore, Raymond Massey, Peter Cushing, Robert Downey Jr., and on television there have been critically acclaimed versions of the character by Benedict Cumberbatch and Jeremy Brett.
But whenever the character is discussed, most people agree that Basil Rathbone is their favorite Sherlock Holmes. He appeared as Sherlock Holmes in 14 films between 1939 and 1946.
Was Basil Rathbone born to play Sherlock Holmes? Well, let's take a look at some of artist Sidney Paget's illustrations for the Sherlock Holmes stories. Paget began illustrating the stories when they began being published by the Strand magazine in 1891. Look at the uncanny resemblance that Paget's illustrations have to Basil Rathbone. So, was Basil Rathbone born to play Sherlock Holmes? Well, Sidney Paget began illustrating the stories in 1891, and Rathbone was born in 1892, so, well, I'm just saying.
You know, Drac, in many stories, you're depicted as looking like a slimy, weaselly little rat.
Well, you know, Carita, now that you put it that way, I'm sure that it was just a coincidence that Basil Rathbone looked like Sidney Paget's illustrations.
Well, you know, I thought so too, but now I'm not so sure. Let's return to Basil Rathbone, Nigel Bruce, and Lionel Atwill in Sherlock Holmes and the Secret Weapon.
Stefan and Eric are proving excellent decoys.
And the Gestapo has been fooled?
Completely. Their servants are leading them into the next street.
But what will happen to Stefan and Eric?
Nothing, don't worry. I've taken care of that. The way is clear. Come on, quick.
You would take the Nazis' own car?
One must adapt oneself to the tools at hand.
And you think you made them believe you're a harmless old bookseller?
Yes, I've always felt that a thorough knowledge of the classics might come in handy.
But how can we get across the border and through France?
There's no need to get across. This very moment, a Royal Air Force plane is waiting for us at a secret landing place.
How long before we arrive in London?
In a very few minutes. We're passing over Dover now.
Thank you.
You'll have to get used to our London blackouts, Dr. Tobel. Dr. Watson's. Very untidy fellow.
What are we going to do with these?
A problem of the most elementary nature, my dear Dr. Tobel.
You are going to keep them here?
I have always believed in the theory, originally projected by Edgar Allan Poe, the American writer, that the best place to hide anything is where everyone can see it.
Yes, but...
You will remember, no doubt, in Poe's story, The Purloined Letter. The missive in question was always in plain view.
Hands up, gentlemen. Scotland Yard, quick.
Oh, my goodness.
Good evening, Mrs. Hudson.
Oh, why, it's Mr. Holmes.
Holmes?
Hello, Watson, old fellow. It's good to see you again. Telephone.
Huh? Who do you want? Oh, yes, you're Scotland Yard. I'm afraid there's been a little mistake. Well, you needn't get angry. We all make mistakes at times. What? Well, if we didn't, you'd be out of a job.
Dr. Tobel, this is my friend and associate, and as you may have observed, my watchdog, Dr. Watson.
How do you do, sir?
How do you do? Dr. Tobel and I flew in from Zurich this evening. You can put that thing away now, Watson.
Dr. Tobel, awarded the Massingham Crest for physics in 1939.
My dear Watson, there is only one Dr. Tobel.
Without Mr. Holmes, there would have been no Dr. Tobel, I am afraid.
But I thought you were living in America, sir.
I have been working in Switzerland for the past 2 years.
And Holmes got you out?
In the nick of time. There was not a point he overlooked. Every contingency was foreseen and provided for. It was magnificent.
Thank you, Doctor. The problem is not without its interesting points.
Is there anything you would like, Mr. Holmes?
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Hudson. You can go to bed now.
You gave me an awful fright dressed up like that. Well, good night, sir.
He's quite right. You can't blame me for jumping to the conclusion that I did. He looked like a broken-down musician. Holmes, why didn't you take your fiddle with you? I never did think much of this dressing-up business.
It was necessary, I assure you. The Gestapo was close on our heels.
Really?
This is Sherlock Holmes. I want to speak to Sir Reginald Bailey, please.
Reginald Bailey? Is that the fellow who played rugger for Blackheath?
Yes, Watson.
Oh.
Hello, Sir Reginald. Holmes speaking. Yes, from Baker Street. I have Dr. Tobel with me. Oh, thank you. Very well, then. I'll meet you in half an hour. There must be no delay. I'll arrange with Sir Reginald to have the test tomorrow morning.
I suggest that only cabinet ministers and your best aviation experts be present.
Naturally. Watson, I leave Dr. Tobel in your care. Give him a sedative. This has been a strenuous business, and he has a long day ahead of him again tomorrow.
Certainly, Holmes, of course. He should sleep in my bedroom. I'll keep watch till you return.
Thank you.
It is not necessary to guard me. I am quite safe now.
Safe, Dr. Tobel? I shouldn't count on it for a second.
But, Mr. Holmes...
A great deal may depend on your safety. And the enemy understands that just as well as we do. Good night. Keep alert, Watson.
Yes, of course.
Basil Rathbone was interviewed by CBS Radio in 1959 and discussed how he was cast in the role of Sherlock Holmes. So, let's listen into part of that interview.
Did you enjoy your years in Hollywood?
I happen to have enjoyed them to a considerable extent from 1939 to 1946, because those were the years of the war. And the war years were very thrilling for us because, having written to the War Office in London and offered my services, I got a form letter advising me that I was far too old to join in this campaign, which I don't pretend that I was too sorry about. But we then settled down to do what we could. We visited hospitals, we visited camps, we gave shows, and we entertained the visiting firemen. And it was I wouldn't have met half the people I have met if it hadn't been for the war years and happening to be in Hollywood at that time.
Let's talk about Sherlock Holmes. Now, when and how did you get into the part of Sherlock Holmes?
It's terribly, terribly simple. At Mr. Zanuck's dinner one night, Gregory Ratoff and Jean Markey were his guests to dinner, just the three of them sitting there. And one of them simply said out of nowhere, "Why hasn't anybody done the stories of Sherlock Holmes?" And one or the other said, "Yes, why not?" And Zanuck said, "Let's do them." And Ratoff said, "Who's to play Holmes?" And Jean Markey said, "Who? Basil Rathbone." That's all there was to it.
Well, the critics have said that your interpretation of Holmes is pretty well definitive. How do you feel about the characterization? Could he have existed? Is he a credible man?
Oh, I think he's an extremely credible man. I personally do not feel the Conan Doyle stories have lived because they are the best mystery stories. I don't think they are. But I think what makes the stories live are the wonderful characterizations that Sir Arthur drew. Holmes is a much more important man than just a detective, than just the analyzer of crimes. He was a very remarkable man. Dr. Watson was one of the most lovable characters of all time, and Moriarty was one of the most shrewd and vicious villains that was ever written. But these are people that I think, personally, perhaps that was part of the success of our little venture in these Sherlock Holmes stories, was that we all loved the people that we played. I've said to my wife once, the one thing I should dread more than anything in the world would be to find myself at a dinner party seated next to Sherlock Holmes, because he'd frighten the daylights out of me.
So, as Rathbone tells it, no other actor was even considered for the part when he first played Sherlock Holmes at 20th Century Fox.
I suppose you could say that Basil Rathbone actually appeared in 2 Sherlock Holmes film series. As Carita mentioned, he first played the part in 2 films, both shot in 1939 at 20th Century Fox. The Hound of the Baskervilles and The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Both of these Fox films were period pieces set in Victorian England.
Then in 1942, Rathbone began a 12-picture run in the part, but this time the setting had been updated to the 1940s, with many of them having a backdrop of World War II espionage. And in these films, Sherlock Holmes became a patriotic English hero.
Now let's return to tonight's movie, Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce starring in Sherlock Holmes and His Secret Weapon.
A couple of these and you'll sleep peacefully through a blitz.
Thank you.
You'd better start undressing at once, or you'll find yourself fast asleep in the middle of taking off your trousers. Well, I'll sit over here and keep an eye on things. Oh, by the way, if you're nervous, call out.
Good night, Doctor.
Good night, Doctor. Both saying the same thing at the same time. Good night, Doctor.
Good night, Doctor.
That's it. I'm tidy fellow, Holmes.
Hello? Yes, I just arrived about an hour ago. It is most important that I see you at once. No, I cannot explain. It is now 5 minutes past midnight. I leave at once. Goodbye.
Holmes, I don't have to tell you how much this means to us.
We shall know a great deal more about the bomb site After the demonstration, Sir Reginald.
The War Office have a pretty good idea of the value of the Tobel bomb site, just as the Nazis have. However, if you'd care to place Dr. Tobel under the protection of Scotland Yard until tomorrow...
No, that won't be necessary. I shall personally deliver Dr. Tobel to your representatives on Salisbury Plain in plenty of time for the demonstration.
Thank you.
Good night, Sir Reginald.
Good night, Mr. Holmes.
Charlotte Averley, flat B.
Right. Get the car ready. I'll wait here until he comes out.
Is that what the Americans call doodling?
It is more serious than you could possibly realize, Charlotte.
Good.
More coffee?
No, thank you, darling. I must get back before they miss me.
We've been separated for so long. I couldn't bear it if anything should part us again. I want to work with you, and I want to know every minute where you are.
Even for you to know the details of my mission in London is to sign your death warrant.
If you're in real danger, I want to share it.
There is one thing you can do. Guard this envelope. If anything happens to me, see that it reaches the hands of Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
Yes.
I pray I never have to deliver it.
He got away. Are you all right, sir?
I think so. It must have been a robber.
Since the blackout, those bodies have become quite a nuisance, sir. I say, you better come with me and have that fixed up.
Thank you.
Just lean on my arm, that's it.
Watson, wake up!
Huh?
Where's Tobel?
He's in there.
No, he isn't. He's gone.
That's impossible. He's asleep in my bed. I've been here all the time.
If anything's happened to him...
Doggone it. We hope you're enjoying tonight's presentation of Sherlock Holmes and the Secret Weapon.
Recently, Drac and I had the great pleasure of sitting down with Donnie Dunnigan. Donnie played Peter von Frankenstein in Son of Frankenstein with Basil Rathbone.
Dr. Dunnigan shared some of his memories of his Hollywood co-stars with us, and here's what he had to say about Basil Rathbone.
Basil Rathbone, who really could have been the Prime Minister, you know, of Great Britain.
Well, Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, Sherlock Holmes.
What were your impressions of as a child of Basil Rathbone?
Oh, he was like a godfather. when my dad first met him, he was pretty impressed. My dad could only come once in a while on the Saturday shoots. My mother thought the world of him. I learned early, long before the Marine Corps officer culture, my first culture that men should have with ladies. Basil Rathbone. If one of the script girls came over to a table where I was sitting there, a script girl, much less one of the ladies in the film, would come over, Basil Rathbone would get up. And if Boris was there, he'd get up. Every time. It wasn't some artificial baloney stuff. It was very genuine culture stuff. And that made an impression on me. And it really made an impression on my mom, because my mom then teased my dad about we're not getting up quite so well at the table.
So he had respect for everybody on the
Everybody.
set, regardless of what they were doing.
Exactly right.
We'd like to thank Donnie Dunnigan for sitting down with us for that interview.
And now let's get back to tonight's film, Sherlock Holmes and His Secret Weapon.
Tobel! All right? Ah, it is nothing. Here, sit down here.
Let's have a look. Oh, it doesn't look too bad. Who patched you up? The police doctor?
Yes.
You look as if you'd been attacked.
Obviously, my dear Watson. Dr. Tobel, do you suspect the woman of arranging the trap?
Woman? What woman?
She's blonde, 5'6", full-lipped, and very affectionate.
Oh, really?
You've known her for a long time. You were attacked after leaving her apartment.
Holmes, how do you know this?
The face powder on your coat tells me of her height and her affection for you. You held her close before departing.
Steady, Holmes.
It's all there for the trained eye to read, Watson.
But look here, why couldn't he have been attacked on his way to the woman's apartment?
The mark of a blow has erased some of the powder. Obviously, if the attack came first, the powder would have remained undisturbed.
And the full lips? That was a guess.
I never guess, Watson. You have rubbed the lipstick from your face with the handkerchief you now hold in your hand. And that amount of lipstick never came from a pair of thin lips.
And the blonde hair? Good gracious me.
Mr. Holmes, I am glad you are on my side.
Well, in that case, you will desist from disobeying my orders and slipping out while your bodyguard sleeps his watch away.
It won't happen again, Holmes. I was sitting in front of the fire.
All right, Watson, all right.
I'm sorry.
Now, can you describe your assailant?
I never saw him. A great figure came at me in the dark. I felt a stunning blow on my head, and instantly fingers were at my throat.
But you must have noticed something about him. Think, man. A thing of little consequence to you may mean a great deal to me.
Wait a moment. There was one thing. Long fingers at my throat like steel. And then an odor, a heavy, drug-like odor.
A drug? Opium?
That is it. I am sure of it now.
Well, I suggest we get the remains of a good night's sleep. Remember, the test takes place tomorrow morning on Salisbury Plain.
Well, I can see that this is going to be a 4-bowl problem. Maybe 5.
The principle of Dr. Tobel's device involves the use of 3 sonic beams. Is that right, sir?
That appears to be it.
There he is.
We're on the course now, sir.
Well, gentlemen, that load would sink any ship in the world.
We must consider the possibility of good piloting and a lucky hit. I'd like to see another try of it.
So would I. They want you to try again, sir.
He is coming into position now, sir.
We're on the course now, sir.
Well, gentlemen, how do you like the bomb sight now?
Marvelous. We'll revolutionize aerial bombardment.
Inspector Lestrade.
Yes, Sir Reginald?
I hope Scotland Yard is taking every precaution to guard Dr. Tobel and his equipment.
2 plainclothesmen ride with him in his car, sir, and 4 others follow in another one, sir.
Good. He's coming to my office in Whitehall as soon as he lands. Shall we start, gentlemen?
Yes.
Well, here he is, gentlemen.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, sir. It was excellent.
Amazing performance.
It was magnificent, Dr. Tobel. Magnificent.
I am glad we had such ideal conditions for the test.
I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it myself.
We've been through a lot, Holmes, but thank goodness he's safe now.
You brought your apparatus with you?
No, Sir Reginald. I did not.
But why not? It must be lodged in the most impregnable vault in this building until we're ready to start manufacture.
I have arranged for a little office of my own. I intend to supervise the manufacture myself.
But you offered it to our government for our use. Everything Mr. Holmes has done has been with that idea in view.
I still offer it to your government, but no one else will know the secrets involved. I have devised a plan to guard my invention. A plan as intricate as the bomb sight itself.
If you imagine for one moment...
Please. I will not change my mind, Sir Reginald. I am taking the matter into my own hands.
Just what do you propose to do, Dr. Tobel?
I am sorry. I cannot reveal the details of my plan for the present.
Do you think that's wise?
I regret, gentlemen, I cannot change my decision. I shall work independently.
Can't you persuade him, Holmes?
But supposing something should happen to you, Dr. Tobel. You know, there's already been one attempt on your life.
And if Holmes' suspicions are right...
What, Watson? There is no use discussing it, gentlemen. My mind is made up.
Scotland Yard will redouble the guard about you, Doctor. In fact, we'll quadruple it.
That is just what I do not wish done, Inspector.
Huh?
That would only draw attention to my activities. Good day, gentlemen.
Just the same, I'll have my men watching him every moment from now on.
No, wait, Lestrade. We must not offend Dr. Tobel. We must remember that he, as a citizen of Switzerland, is under no obligation to give us his invention. We must do as he asks. Don't you agree, Holmes?
To be sure, Sir Reginald. I'm not officially connected with the government, and I intend to remain on the case.
Good.
That is, if Inspector Lestrade doesn't mind.
Not at all, Mr. Holmes. We're always glad to have you hanging around.
Thank you.
You can put those away now, Lestrade.
Hoffner, I am entrusting this to you because, first of all, you are a Swiss. And second, there is no doubt in my mind of your ability.
I'm honored, Dr. Tobel.
I have divided the mechanism of my invention into 4 units. Each is meaningless without the others.
You have delivered the other 3?
Yes. No one but myself knows the identity of the 4 scientists working on the 4 units. Their names are not even known to each other.
I think I understand. From what you tell me, it will be easy to reproduce the unit assigned to me in any quantity you wish.
I knew I could rely on you. I will get in touch with you as soon as I have made the rest of my arrangements. No. The back door, if you please, Professor Hoffner.
Au revoir.
the glove. The glove. There's the rub. Who could have taken that glove? Who'd have even wanted the glove? It didn't even have fingers on it.
Who are you?
How you doing, doll? Sam Marlowe, Private Eye. I'm here to help out with the case of your missing glove.
Oh, what are you going to do?
Well, I thought I'd start by interrogating this slimy, weaselly-looking little rat.
Oh, that little rat is my son's pet. He loves that rat.
Honey, I was talking about your son. I'll get started. All right, Junior. I know you know more than you're letting on. Who killed Cock Robin? Does your chewing gum lose its flavor on the bedpost overnight? Oh, you think you're smart with that stupid wide-eyed grin, but you can't fool me. What'd you do with Amelia Earhart?
Oh, that was Drac.
It was? Well, I guess you're off the hook on that one.
So what are you finding out?
Nothing. Seems like the cat's got his tongue. He ain't talking. He's dummied up.
Hello? Yes, Lestrade? Oh. Very well.
What is it, Holmes?
Just as I feared. Lestrade's men report that Tobel is missing.
Missing? Gone.
Yes, I was afraid of this.
How long has he been missing?
Practically since he walked out of your office yesterday. If you'd only given me the address of this place, I shouldn't have had to waste so much time finding it.
Empty. The bomb site's gone.
I didn't expect to find it here, Sir Reginald.
This is a pretty mess. If you knew this was going to happen, why the devil didn't you do something about it?
You can rely on Holmes implicitly, Sir Reginald.
Tobel's gone, and heaven alone knows where. But it serves me right for listening to that crack-brained idea of his. He dismissed Lestrade's men, and they went, leaving him here alone and unguarded. Holmes, if anything has happened to Tobel, if his invention falls into the hands of Germany, it will be a major disaster for England.
Christmas wrapping. He did his Christmas shopping in plenty of time.
Yes, curious.
Do you notice anything, Holmes? Scent. Perfume.
Yes, I noticed it the moment we entered the room. Claire de Lune. One of the rarer essences and very expensive.
That woman again.
Undoubtedly. Give me Inspector Lestrade. Sherlock Holmes calling.
So Holmes is finally stumped. First time I've heard him call for help.
Call for help, indeed. He's only just beginning his investigation.
Lestrade, this is Holmes. Check the records and trace a call made on my private telephone at Baker Street at approximately 12 o'clock on the night of Dr. Tobel's arrival in London.
Finally stumped, eh, Sir Reginald?
Yes, Lestrade? Wait a minute. Charlotte, Aberley, 34, St. George's Street, flat B. Excellent, Lestrade. Thank you. Dr. Tobel?
I can't tell you.
You mean you won't tell me?
I don't know.
How many Christmas packages did you take to him, Miss Aberley?
5.
He dismantled his bomb site and packed the units in 4 of the boxes. Is that correct?
Pardon me. Hello? Yes? This is Miss Aberley. Why, someone must have stolen it. On Richmond Bypass. Yes. Yes, I'll arrange to have it removed. Yes, at once. Now I can be frank with you, Mr. Holmes. Dr. Tobel has disappeared. They found my car on Richmond Bypass, wrecked. I loaned it to him last night.
For what purpose, Miss Aberley?
He wouldn't tell me. But he said that if anything should happen to him, I was to give you this.
Holmes? Then he must have expected something.
Yes. This envelope has been opened and resealed.
Oh, but that isn't possible. It hasn't been out of my hands.
We meet again, Mr. Holmes.
What?
Why, that's not the message. It isn't even the same paper. I saw Dr. Tobel draw little sets of figures.
What kind of figures?
Well, they looked like little dancing men.
Dancing men? That's curious.
Who's been in this apartment since Dr. Tobel entrusted that envelope to your care?
Why, no one. I've had no visitors.
Think. Possibly a tradesman.
No. Only the one for a few minutes.
And that one?
A workman. He came to fix my light switch. He couldn't have possibly...
Did you send for him?
Why, no. My lights went out, and soon afterwards he knocked at my door and told me the porter had sent him up. That's where he worked. But he wasn't alone in this room more than 5 minutes. And he did fix the lights. They went on again.
The switch hasn't been touched. The paint still covers the screw heads. He simply threw the main switch in the basement, pretended to work on this one, and after a few moments, an accomplice threw the main switch back on.
But in those few minutes...
Did you get a look at his face?
No, only a glance. Now I realize he kept his face averted.
But he was a large man.
Yes, he was large.
His eyes heavy-lidded, a thin film over the pupils.
Then Holmes, you
If I remember now, his eyes, they were like a snake's.
Miss Aberley, Dr. Tobel is being held by one of the most brilliant men in the history of crime. Come along, Watson. There isn't a moment to lose. Goodbye, Miss Aberley.
Oh, goodbye, Miss Aberley. I don't see why I'm not allowed to go with you.
You have your own mission, Watson.
Yes, to take a sealed note to Inspector Lestrade while you search Soho.
I shall not be searching for him. I shall permit him to find me in the character of a murderous Lascar once in his employ, and whom I may add is still in jail.
Yes, but after all these years...
Make no mistake, Watson. This is not a duel of intellects with a cruel but single-minded Gestapo killer. This is our greatest problem, with England as the stake, and our antagonist, Professor Moriarty.
We've got to beat him. Once he's behind bars, I think I shall entitle my memoirs of these adventures, The End of Moriarty.
An excellent title, Watson. But, we must arrange that it isn't Moriarty who's left to write the memoirs.
Huh?
She rises, up she rises early in the morning. Up she rises, up she rises, up she rises early in the morning. Up she rises, up she rises, up she rises early in the morning. Up she rises, up she rises.
Ram Singh!
Uno Ram Singh.
I do. You blooming wharf rat. Been in jail, ain't you?
How you know?
I heard from the blighter what left you to swing instead of him. You know what I mean, matey.
I know. I'll have to kill him.
Would it be worth £10 to you?
You know where he lives?
For £10, I know.
Only got 2.
Goodbye, matey.
5.
£10 on nothing, you lying heathen.
You dirty thief.
Well, that ain't so much to ask for what you want to know.
You make good bargain.
That does it.
Well?
You remember Angel's Court?
Huh?
Then follow your nose through the alley till you come to Jack Brady's carpenter shop. He can tell you where the blighter is at this very moment.
You come too.
Me?
If you lie.
All right, mister, I'll come along with you. Easy, matey, easy. Follow me.
Please, Governor, I ain't had nothing to eat for 2 days. Please.
Go away.
Have I mentioned to you that we're big in Uganda?
Who's that?
Pegleg.
Who's this bloke?
He's a bloodthirsty heathen, but there's good money to spend for information.
What's he want to know?
He give me £5 to bring him to someone what could tell him the whereabouts of you know who.
You know, tell me I cut 2 throat. Cost you another £5. £5 more, eh? You pay him.
Me?
Come on, you. Come on, pay him.
I'll tell you all right, I will. The truth, and that's a fact. The blighters in Davy Jones's locker are feeding the fishes, he is. Deader than a blinking mackerel. Now, ain't that worth a £5?
I tell you he's alive.
And I say he's been dead these many years.
You lie!
Easy there, Jack Brady. I would say you were wrong and Mr. Sherlock Holmes was correct.
Good evening, Professor Moriarty.
Welcome, Holmes. My men have instructions to bring anybody here who inquires for me. They haggle while I watch. An admirable disguise, by the way. It fooled them completely. Of course, it didn't fool me.
I never intended that it should. I meant only that it should bring us face to face.
Just like old times, eh? A battle of wits, of superior intellects. I may say I've been expecting you since I made off with your precious Dr. Tobel.
And his code.
Ah, yes, and his code. But valuable as your doctor and his code are to my business, I think my main interest in this affair is the chance it gives me to battle with you again.
Moriarty, this is no simple crime that you contemplate. It's a staggering blow against your own country.
That doesn't concern me overly. I shall make greater profit from this affair than all my other adventures put together.
Then you refuse?
Oh, most assuredly. In fact, I intend to ensure the success of this venture tonight by liquidating you, Mr. Holmes. I think that is the American phrase.
Quite.
You, the one man intelligent enough to stand in my way.
A gun? Oh, come now. This is not the Professor Moriarty, the master criminal I once knew. A dock rat could do as much.
Did you think I was going to shoot you, Mr. Holmes? Oh, dear me, no. This is simply to prevent a troublesome scene. I expected you and made full arrangements. You see, my good Mr. Holmes, these shelves lift out. And you will rest somewhat uncomfortably in the false bottom of this sea chest. My sailor friend, Jack Brady, goes to sea immediately. Once out of sight of land, he pushes the chest overboard. Time up. Perhaps your good friend, Dr. Watson, can entitle this adventure The End of Sherlock Holmes.
He will be disappointed. He intended to call it The End of Professor Moriarty.
Hurry. Brilliant man, Sherlock Holmes. Too bad he was honest.
The one-legged man. He takes Mr. Holmes right to that carpenter shop. He knocks on the door. A man comes out and in they go.
Well, thank you, George. We'll take over the watch.
Good night, Dr. Holmes.
Good night. What does Mr. Holmes hope to accomplish by this masquerade? He hopes to frighten Moriarty into rushing Tobel into another hiding place. Moriarty's dead, I tell you. Look out. Over here, quick.
Who are you?
Oh, allow please to introduce self. Lieutenant Chan, Honolulu Police Department.
Aren't you a little out of your jurisdiction?
Crime knows no boundary.
Really?
Yes. When black camel kneel at doorstep, crime most certain to follow.
Camel? We're in Transylvania. We don't have any camels here.
Is merely figure of speech from fortune cookie.
Well, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Haven't heard this yet. When cap purr, tail will wag. When tongue wag, truth become evident. Case of missing glove, remind Chan of case of Chinese cat.
The case of the Chinese cat?
No, case of Chinese cats. 12 cats.
This is confusing.
No, this is Confucius. Excuse please, must take call. Chen. What? Tell Lee grounded and not driving car 2 months. Number 1 son drive car, put dent in fender.
That's too bad.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Now, case of missing glove. Excuse please, must take call. Chen. Tell number 4 daughter, Chen no good with math. Number 4 daughter having trouble with math homework. Now, missing glove. Must take call. Excuse please. Chen. Give spanking. Number 5 son misbehave at school.
Mr. Chan, how many children do you have?
Chen have 13 children.
I think you need a hobby.
Missy, with 13 children in house, police work is hobby. Give chance to get out of house to peace and quiet of crime and murder.
Hey, just a minute.
Who's that?
What do you got there?
Who's asking?
Scotland Yard?
Half a mo, Governor. I'll show you me papers.
That's it.
There you are. There you are, Governor. I'm Jack Brady, ship's carpenter. Shipping out tonight in a convoy. Destination unknown. My pal here's helping me get my chest aboard.
Make them open it, Lestrade.
Yes, go on.
All right, Governor. See for yourself.
There's nothing here, Doctor. Just a couple of simple seafaring men. All right, get on with it.
Thank you, Governor.
Come on now. Easy does it. Right. Good night, your lordships.
Told you it was a lot of nonsense.
I don't understand. That thing was weigh a ton. Look at those men staggering.
You've hit on something, Doctor. A few tools wouldn't take that much energy.
We've just looked inside.
On the top only, there might be a false bottom. Hey, you! You stop there! Stop or I'll shoot!
Great Scott, Holmes!
Well, I'll be blowed.
You're not hurt?
No. Well, you needn't have yelled at them so abruptly.
Huh?
They dropped me on my head.
Oh.
Moriarty would have been delighted.
So Professor Moriarty is alive?
Alive and in possession of Dr. Tobel's code. No good going back. They've all gone.
And what are you going to do?
Well, first I'm going to wash this filthy stuff off my face. Then I'm going to see Miss Eberly again. I've got to find some clue to the content of Dr. Tobel's message. Come along, quick.
I only got one glimpse of the note while he was preparing it.
He was seated at this desk.
No, he was sitting on the couch when he wrote the message, but he sealed the envelope here.
The message was written in ink with this pen.
No, he used a pencil. This one.
Thank you. Used this writing pad?
Yes.
Has it been used since?
No.
They should be here. They must be here.
What, Mr. Holmes?
The lead in this pencil is hard. Hard enough to make an impression on the coarse fibers of which this paper is made. The impressions at the moment are invisible. If we immerse this sheet in a solution of fluorescent salts, dry it, and then photograph it by ultraviolet light, the fibers broken by the writing will absorb less of the solution than other parts of the paper. Switch off the lights, Watson. We place the slide in the projector and turn on the light. The broken fibers appear darker than the rest of the paper and are therefore visible.
Splendid, Holmes. Now I recognize that code. Do you remember a case we had some years ago? It's probably the same, alphabet substitution code.
Yes, Watson. I believe Dr. Tobel meant to communicate with us by that means.
Substitution of the alphabet? I don't understand.
My dear, one of the oldest codes in use is based on the repetition of figures. E is the letter most used in the British language. Therefore, the figure most used, probably in this message, is E. T, A, O, I, and N follow in that order of frequency.
You mean you can read these figures as if they were letters of the alphabet?
Elementary, my dear Miss Eberly. Give me 1 minute, and you shall have the message.
This case reminds me of A Study in Scarlet or The Hound of the Baskervilles. Who am I trying to kid? This is nothing at all like those cases.
And what is the message, Watson?
This fellow Tobel must have been pulling our legs. It's a lot of gibberish. IYZLMTHK. Reads like an eye doctor's chart.
Dr. Tobel is a brilliant scientist. I saw immediately that he wouldn't send us a message so simple to decipher. Neither would he have fixed these top figures without a meaning.
Then it isn't the Alfred substitution code.
Yes, it is, Watson, but with a very clever variation. You see, the 1, 2, 3 figures means that we skip letters in that order. In other words, observe, Watson. The first letter, which is I, skips 1 and becomes J. The second letter, Y, skips 2 and becomes A, and the third skips 3 and becomes C.
J-A-C.
J-A-C-O-B-D-U-R-R-E-R.
Jacob Dürer, a Swiss scientist and friend of Dr. Tobel's.
P-A-L-A-C-E-C-R-E-S.
Palace Crescent.
Right.
I say, Holmes, this man Dürer must be important.
Obviously, Watson. He must have some connection with the bomb site, or Tobel wouldn't have taken so much trouble to see that I got his name. Take down the rest of the message. J-O-S-E-P-H, Joseph.
E-M-D-D-I-A-C. Number 4 doesn't make any sense. He must have used some other variations.
4 names and addresses. Jacob Dürer, Professor Farrell, Dr. Kern, and this 4th infernal cipher which doesn't fit the code. Christmas boxes. Watson, I'm beginning to see the plan. Dr. Tobel divided his bomb site into 4 parts, just as we brought it back from Switzerland. He's given 1 section of the mechanism to each of these famous scientists. What a fascinating plan. You see, each part is useless without the other 3, and undoubtedly, none of these scientists is known to each other. Professor Moriarty also has the code, and we must allow for his ability to decipher it. We haven't time to break the 4th code now. We must get to the first 3 men before Moriarty does.
Palace Crescent first?
Right.
I'll go and get a taxi.
Miss Everly, will you please wait here till we return? Thank you.
Oh, pardon me. Just thinking. A lot. Like I said, it's going to be a 5-bowl problem.
Here, where are you going, sir?
Jacob Dürer live here?
Yes, but there's been a bit of trouble, sir. You can't go in. Inspector Lestrade's orders.
Oh.
Here, just a minute, sir.
That's Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, very sorry, sir.
Dead?
Dead as a doornail. Mr. Holmes, how did you know about this? The yard only heard 15 minutes ago.
We better hurry, Holmes. There's still time to save Farrell and Kern.
Too late, Watson. By this time, Farrell and Kern are dead, too.
What? Deductions again, Mr. Holmes?
Facts, Inspector.
Oh, facts.
But how do you know about them?
Elementary, my dear Watson. This man has been dead for at least 2 hours. Moriarty isn't wasting any time.
Hello? This is Lestrade. Put me on to McAtee. Oh, McAtee? Oh, this is Lestrade. Do you know anything about 2 men named...
Farrell and Kern.
Farrell and Kern? What, both of them? Oh. Thank you. Report only came in 2 seconds before I telephoned.
What on earth are we going to do, Holmes? Moriarty's got a big start and he's got the code.
Note this, Watson. Scotland Yard reports 2 murders. That makes 3 in all. But there were 4 boxes and 4 codes.
Obviously, Moriarty hasn't broken the fourth code either.
What is the name of the fourth man?
I can't remember.
What is the name of the fourth man?
I have forgotten.
What is the name of the fourth man?
I don't know. I don't know.
What is the name of the fourth man?
I can't remember.
Fourth man. What is the name of the fourth man?
What is the name of the fourth man?
Holmes, don't you realize what this means to England? We not only lose the Tobel bomb site ourselves, but Germany gets it. Coventry, Bath, Plymouth, London.
Not to mention Norwich and Hull.
All over again, but with 10 times the effect.
Don't you suppose I realize that's Reginald? Don't you suppose I'd give my life to decode the last name of that message?
There must be some solution.
Naturally, Watson.
You needn't be rude. I need a drink. I'm all in. I can't think anymore. All these letters and figures whirling through my brain. It's all twisted round.
Twisted round.
Huh?
That's it. That's what? Twisted around, you said. So simple, I never thought of it. Reverse the slide. You see, gentlemen? These figures are now identical with the first three names. In other words, all the figures of name number 4 are written backwards and read from right to left until we reverse the slide when they read correctly from left to right. Now, let's work on it. Pencil, Watson.
But, why would Dr. Tobel want to reverse the figures of number 4?
An added precaution, Lestrade, in case the cipher should fall into the wrong hands.
Quite a compliment to you, Mr. Holmes. I mean, Tobel taking for granted that you would recognize the difference.
Thank you. F-R-E-D-E-R-I-C-K-H-O-F-F-N-E-R. Frederick Hoffner. S-L-O-A-N-E-S-Q-U. Sloane Square. We must leave at once. Wait a minute. Information? Will you please give me the address of a Frederick Hoffner in Sloane Square?
Somewhere out there is the culprit, and the crime will fit him just like a glove. Well, that was pretty doggone clever, wasn't it? Yes.
I'll break this code. I'll find the name of that fourth man before Holmes does.
There is not much more time. The submarine is to pick us up off Sheerness in 6 hours.
I've beaten Holmes so far. We'll meet your confounded submarine with the bomb site intact.
But Tobel is unconscious again. As last resort, we could abandon the code and take Tobel to Germany.
You try Tobel again in here. Wait. Spilling that glass of water was a very fortunate accident, my dear street brawler. Dr. Tobel's perversion of the cipher was so simple that it fooled us. I was looking for something ingenious. This is ingenuous. He simply reversed the cipher. F-R-E-D-E-R-I-C-K-H-O-F-N-E-R. Frederick Hoffner, Sloane Square. Of course. Hoffner would be the perfect selection.
Then you want us to tend to Hoffner?
No, we can use Hoffner. He's a brilliant scientist. If Dr. Tobel doesn't recover from your persuasion, Hoffner will be able to put the 4 parts together. You and Godfrey will call on Hoffner, and you will bring him here with the 4th section of the bomb site. Hurry.
Put up your hands, Professor Hoffner.
I'll take the box. We meet again, Professor. Sherlock Holmes.
An improvement on the other makeup. Don't you think so, Professor?
So you think you've beaten me, Holmes?
I have. The real Hoffner is safely in the hands of Scotland Yard.
But I still have Tobel. Now I shall sell Germany the inventor instead of the invention.
You've learned nothing from him in spite of all your torture. Otherwise, you wouldn't be trying so desperately to collect the 4 sections of the bomb site.
A keen observation, my dear Holmes. But observe further that you are now in my hands, and I have profited by my last mistake of allowing underlings to attend to you.
Holmes took my place, and while the Nazis were inside with him, he instructed me to attach a small apparatus underneath their car.
He's a brilliant fellow, Holmes. I helped him prepare the apparatus.
Did you really, Doctor?
That is, I poured in the luminous paint when you told me to.
Very clever, Dr. Watson.
The apparatus drips at regular intervals, leaving a trail of luminous paint.
I see, leading us to Moriarty and Mr. Holmes.
I must concentrate by playing my Stradivarius kazoo. Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes?
Yeah, Lieutenant Colombo with the police.
Oh.
Yeah, do you mind if I have a seat, ma'am?
Oh, please do.
Thank you, ma'am. That's very kind of you. I appreciate it. I'm here to help out with looking for your missing glove.
Oh, good.
And I wanted to talk to the 2 birds here, if that's all right with you.
Go ahead, Lieutenant.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So, you know, ma'am, if you don't mind my saying, that's a very lovely dress you're wearing there.
Oh, well, thank you.
And you look very nice in it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, ma'am. So, you know, ma'am, now that I think of it, I got this wedding anniversary coming up, and I got to find a gift for the wife. And I was thinking, maybe she'd like a dress like that.
I'm sure she would.
Do you mind my asking you, ma'am, how much you paid for that dress?
Oh, well, this was a gift from my husband. It's a designer gown. It cost $20,000.
Oh, geez. $20,000?
Yes.
You wouldn't happen to know where I could find a dress like that for, say, $19.95?
No. Aren't you supposed to question George and Gracie?
Well, actually, ma'am, I don't think the birds know nothing. No. You see, I actually wanted to come here and talk to you about what you might know about the disappearance of your glove.
Are you insinuating I stole my own glove?
Well, ma'am, it's been known to happen.
Why would I do such a thing?
For the insurance money.
But it's just a glove. How much could it possibly be worth?
Well, ma'am, with all due respect again, you're wearing a $20,000 dress, so heaven only knows.
You're the most ridiculous man I've ever met.
Well, if you think I'm ridiculous, ma'am, wait until you see who's next.
Why are you so confident, Professor? Only a suggestion. But how do you know that Scotland Yard isn't waiting to break in at this very moment?
I selected this address with special care. No one can find it. Not even Scotland Yard. Relax, Mr. Holmes. There's no escape.
I might suddenly dash to the window, break it open, and shout to a passerby.
There are no passers-by. The glass in the window is unbreakable, and the room is soundproof. This is my stronghold, Holmes, equipped with all the modern conveniences of a successful man in my profession. Sit down.
They faded out again, sir.
I don't understand, Lestrade. It stopped, and then it started, and now it stopped again.
Maybe the apparatus broke down.
Oh, a suggestion, gentlemen. At a crossroad back there, a car might have gone over the spots of paint, picked some up on the tires, and left this false trail.
That's just what I was about
to suggest myself.
Very well, we'll try it.
Now, Holmes, what should it be? The gas chamber, the cup of hemlock, or just a simple bullet through your brain?
You disappoint me, Professor.
Indeed?
Yes. Somehow I always thought that in the end, you'd prove to be just an ordinary cutthroat.
You know me better, Holmes.
Gas, poison, bullets. I assure you, Professor, were our positions reversed, I should have something more colorful, more imaginative to offer.
I'm satisfied to be the winner. I shall be alive.
Alive, yes. The winner, no. For in the last analysis, I shall have proved the more resourceful man. You didn't trap me here. I came here because I wanted to prevent your getting Hoffner. And all you can do in return is to commit ordinary murder to relieve your sense of frustration.
And what, my good Mr. Holmes, could you have conceived that would have been so much more colorful?
Well, even offhand, I can improve upon your suggestions considerably, but that's only natural, of course.
And what is this brilliant idea of yours?
Do you know that a man dies if he loses 5 pints of blood? Yes, of course you do. I should have you placed on an operating table, inject a needle into your veins, and slowly draw off your life's blood.
The needle to the last. Eh, Holmes?
Slowly, drop by drop, the blood would be drawn from your body. You would be aware of every exquisite second to the very end. You would be watching yourself die scientifically, noting every reaction, and in full possession of your faculties.
Interesting.
Yes, isn't it? I humbly submit, Professor, that to the very end, I've been more resourceful than yourself.
You've played into my hands, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Time and again, I've used this place as a haven for friends of mine, injured in altercations with Scotland Yard. I have a fully equipped hospital here.
I don't mind telling you, I'm completely flummoxed. And if you understood that, you're doing better than me. If you know what flummoxed means, please let me know.
The trail goes this way, Inspector.
Drop by drop, Holmes. Drop by drop. In a way, I'm almost sorry. You were a stimulating influence to me. But it was obvious that I should win in the end. Only a matter of moments now. Take Tobel down to the boat. Stop the engine. Closer to the end, Holmes. Closer and closer. Each second, a few more drops leave your desiccated body. And you can feel them, can't you? You're perfectly conscious, aren't you, Holmes?
I shall be conscious long after you're dead, Moriarty.
Ha! Still the same old swaggering, conceited Sherlock Holmes. Wait.
If Moriarty hears a shot, he'll kill Holmes. You keep an eye on the boat. Don't make a move till Dr. Watson and I get inside. Understand? You wait here, Professor Hoffner. Come on, Doctor.
The water's this way. Moriarty's rooms must be up here.
I wonder what Stephanie is doing tonight.
I can't wait any longer, Holmes. You'll have to forgive the crudity, my friend. This is only the coup de grace.
Stand still, Moriarty, you're done for.
Holmes! On the contrary, Inspector, my men are outside. It's you who are done for.
Really? Just take a look out the window and see for yourself. He'll try to get to the speedboat. Yes, he won't go without Tobel. Come on. Wait.
Here's Dr. Tobel, Inspector. He ain't too badly hurt.
Thank heavens for that. Look after him, will you, Hoffner?
I'll take him to the car.
Oh, are you still here? I must convince Carita that I'm the most brilliant detective on the face of the planet. So here's the plan. If I can't find the missing glove, I'll buy another set and just replace it. But don't tell her. No, don't tell her.
meaning of this?
Flywheel here. I'm here to assist you with the disappearance of your glove.
You are?
I am. So tell me, sister, where was the glove the last time you saw it?
He's right here.
It was right here.
Yes.
Oh, my dear, I love you. I worship you. I adore you.
What about my husband?
Why, that cad? He means nothing to me. Can't you see that it's you that I want?
That's a no good, boss.
Why not?
My husband is a vampire.
A what?
A vampire. He's a bloodsucker.
Oh, he's an attorney. Well, let him sue me. In fact, for all I care, he can sue Sue. She's from Sioux City. So he can sue Sioux City Sue. How's that for alliteration?
An attorney? You can't insult my husband that way. Leave the castle now, sir.
Well, all right, I will. Pay close attention, because this is the way Olivier would have done it. I know when I'm not wanted, so I'll go. But I want you to know that when I do, I'll be taking my pride and my dignity with me. I'll be taking my dignity with me. Well, I'll still be wearing my trousers, thanks to you.
I expected you, but not with my revolver.
You realize, of course, when I was brought into the room blindfolded, that I heard the mechanism of this door?
Of course.
And yet, knowing that I'd heard it, you planned this way of escape. Not very flattering to me. Suicide, my dear Professor.
Not at all, my dear Holmes. You see, this is not an ordinary passageway. Oh, my mistake. It has been as equally well prepared as the rest of my humble quarters. I have a trap set, electric eye principle. My passing through will break the beam and automatically open a highly deceptive trap door. Behind me, of course, my pursuer, meaning you, my dear Holmes, will then be plunged 60 feet into the sewers below. Holmes! Holmes!
Poor Moriarty. I neglected to warn him. It seems some careless person came across his trap door and left it open. Come along, Watson.
Germany wanted the Tobel bomb site. We'll send her thousands of them in RAF planes.
Yes. Thanks to Mr. Sherlock Holmes and to Mrs. Tobel.
And of course, Inspector Lestrade.
Oh, that's all right, miss.
Things are looking up, Holmes. This little island's still on the map.
Yes. This fortress, built by nature for herself. This blessed plot. This earth, this realm. This England.
Well, Carita, I did it.
And you're admitting to it?
Well, Carita, I didn't do anything wrong, doggone it. I figured out who took your glove.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who did it?
Well, in order to get to who did it, we'll eliminate all the suspects and tell you who didn't do it first. Just like all the famous drawing room scenes in all of those murder mystery movies, okay? To begin with, we know that our lovebirds here, George and Gracie, couldn't have done it because, well, doggone it, be sensible about it. They don't even have hands. What use would they have for a glove, right?
Right.
Then, by using the powers of deductive reasoning, I noticed that there was an absence of cat hair on your dress. And that ruled out, of course, Dracito, because we know he's been binging on kitty cats and has been coughing up more fur balls than a whole litter, right?
Right.
And then there's Alan, that rat. He wouldn't have done it because he's already on probation for a 4th-degree grand theft felony. He wouldn't steal anything small like a glove because that would give him 18 months hard time in the federal penitentiary. So that left only one more suspect. Fluffy. Yes. An absence of cat hair on your dress and your glove beginning to come out of his behind. There it is, Carita. Your glove.
Brilliant, Drac.
Elementary, Carita.
Thank you so much for joining us for Sherlock Holmes and the Secret Weapon.
You know, I love just about everything about these Basil Rathbone Sherlock Holmes movies, from the beginning all the way to those great curtain speeches that Basil Rathbone gives, like the one in tonight's movie, which came from Shakespeare's Richard II. And just in case you think I'm not telling you the truth about how much I like Sherlock Holmes, I'd like you to meet this guy. You know, when I got him, I knew he was going to be my best friend, constant companion, and confidant, so I named him Watson.
Until we see you again, remember to
Fly right. Watson, always know where the camera's at. You got the whole world looking at you right now, pal. Smile. And you too, smile.